Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back. In this video, we are looking at the PGA picks for this week. It is a John Deere Classic. First thing that's going to stick out to you is that the field looks really weak, and it is. A lot of the big names are either in the Scottish Open or they're taking the week off to get ready for the Open, which is just 1 week away. So, for that reason, we're going to see a lot of long shots possibly climb up the leaderboard. We could see another first time winner here at the John Deere Classic, which we've seen 18 of already. And I think like 5 of the last 10 or 5 of the last 9 years have been first time winners. So I'm excited. This could open up the door for a lot of cheaper guys to really pay off their salary, not only on DraftKings, but also in the betting markets. So let's get started. As always, appreciate if you guys hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't already. We want to do a quick just look back at this tournament over 2019. It did not take place last year. It was canceled. But we see all Dylan Fratelli emerge with a victory in 2019 at 21 under par, so that's going to tell you that it is a course where you'll see a lot of birdies, similar to last week. There are three par fives, and they're probably going to be able to get. Most of these guys are going to be able to get to the par fives in two shots, unless they are in the rough off the tee or they hit it into one of the bunkers. They should be able to get it into. They should be able to get to the green in two. A lot of these bombers, at least. So looking at birdie or better percentages are important. Looking at strokes gained approach, I would say, is also very important, as you'll see a lot of guys be able to see if they. A lot of the good iron players will have success this week because there's not a ton of long par fours here. You'll see like a 440. You see some short par fours under 400 yards, some shorter par fours in the 400s. So they hit it like 320 off the tee. You're gonna hopefully a lot of these guys will have like 80 to 120 yards to try to get to the green, and so the iron is gonna be important to look at. And then looking at just some of this player pool on DraftKings, you see Daniel Berger at 11-1. He is like 10-1 in the betting market. I don't want to pay that much for. I mean, I don't want to. I will play him on DraftKings, but I don't want to bet him at 10-1. I would look to some of these longer shot guys just because some of these odds haven't changed. Like we see Sebastian Munoz, guys like him are 66-1, and that's kind of sometimes you'll see that in a stronger field, it'll still be 66-1 or like 10,000-1. So not too much of a difference there. But for me on DraftKings at least, even though I probably won't be using him in the betting market, still like Daniel Berger. Just gives you a nice safe option to plug into your lineup and feel comfortable with it. He hasn't played a ton of golf recently. He's just played once since the end of May at the U.S. Open, where he finished tied for seventh. He was awesome in the past year, 2020. Yeah, so far he's been pretty good in 2021 as well, making cuts. Uh, Good chance to finish inside the top 10, especially this week. So at 11-1, I will definitely side with him. I like him a little bit more than Sanjay. I like him more than Brian Harmon. And then Cam Davis, we saw him somehow squeeze out the win last week after he finished the last two holes at 3 under par to force his way into the playoff. This is another type of course where you should have success with the shorter par fives. He's a bomber off the tee. The only thing that held him back a bit last week, even though he won, but just kind of kept him back from leading that tournament in like the third and fourth round, was the putter wasn't really there. He missed a couple of putts in the playoff. But other than that, he's going to be able to bomb it off the tee and should give him a good chance to get it close with his iron play. So I like Cam Davis more than Brian Harmon a bit, more than Russell Henley. And then you see Kevin Streelman, another pretty big favorite to win this week. Disappointing missed cut at the Travelers after he finished 72 in the second round after shooting a 67 in round one, where he looked like a lock to make the cut. Just absolutely fell apart on the second day. He has been playing good golf before that. On this sort of field, he is a solid option. I think I would like to go a little bit cheaper, but I wouldn't fault you for playing him. I like him a lot more than Kevin Na, who always seems to have a couple of holes that just absolutely ruins his day. Had like a triple bogey, quad bogey at least the last week or 2 weeks ago at the Travelers. You saw Alex Noren had a chance to make his way into at least a playoff if he was able to birdie one of 17 or 18, ended up parring both, missing a couple of putts. He said himself he got a little bit nervous at the end, seeing his name at the top. He's still looking for his first PGA win. I don't think it'll happen this week after he had a lot of momentum last week. He is like 2,500, I think, in the betting market, so I wouldn't go to him at that price. But on DraftKings, at least, you could take a shot with him. But we see some of these cheaper guys like Seamus Power, who who has made the top 20 in 4 straight weeks, finished inside the top 10 in out of the last 4 weeks, and those were tough fields, very competitive fields. I would take a good look at him this week on Draftkings and Fanduel. If you're in any sort of top 10, top 20 market, I think he looks like a good bet at 9,000, even though he's only 9 of 18 cuts made. But he's been on a tear recently. He's made 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 cuts in a row, and he's finished in the top 10 in 3 of those 7. So he's really, if he makes the weekend, there's a good chance he's able to push towards the top. Another guy that always seems to have a couple of low rounds is Patton Kizzire, if he happens to make the cut. Made the cut last week. The Rockets Mortgage shot a 64 in round 4. He's a guy that we saw him give you upside to finish inside the top 10, so he's a little bit of a riskier player, boom or bust. Sometimes he misses the cut, sometimes he finishes top 5. This is sort of a week where I will go to guys like him just because they're pretty volatile, but with the player pool that they have and the players they're playing against, a good chance that if Kizzire has a couple of those low rounds like he did in round 4 last week, he can make a strong push to finish inside the top 10. Another guy that I like besides Daniel Berger, Zach Johnson. He's $8,500. He has made the last 4 cuts here at this tournament, finishing 5th in 2017. I would expect him to make a good run this week. Again, I would look closely at him to finish inside the top 20 at least. He does give you upside to finish inside the top 10. The price tag on him is very reasonable. So he's one of my favorites in the 8K range. I think Maverick McNeely, if you're looking for a long shot to place, you can definitely go with McNeely, a guy that can get hot with the putter at times and has shown some ability to finish inside the top 20, top half if he does make the cut. So he's another guy to look at, but really like Zach Johnson. I like Hank Libiota, who was 3-putted on 17 to miss the playoff, which sucked for him because he had the second shot. He hit it to 32 feet. Then he's hit his third shot to 8 feet, missed the short putt. So that sucked for him because he just kind of looked like, I don't know what happened to him. He might have got nervous after Cam Davis hit that hole-in-one in front of him. But I'd go to Hank Libiota this week. Back-to-back top 5 finishes for him. Only $8,400 in this weak field. His price tag has not even increased really much. I thought he should be like low 9K range for the way he's playing. He's even if he's wild at times, his short game, besides that hole on 17, was really good last week. We saw him make a lot of par saves from 9 to like 11 feet. He made like at least 3 or 4 of those in the 3rd and 4th rounds. So he's a guy that I want to play just for his recent form, and the price tag on him is really cheap. And the putter is going to be important this week, and he's good at putting. He can birdie the par 5s. Zach Johnson, another guy I like, I mentioned him in the 8K range. And then I looked like Doc Redman, Sebastian Munoz, 2 guys that are a little bit volatile, but they can have big weeks. We've seen Doc Redman tie for 2nd at the Palomito, tied top 10 for the AT&T. Other weeks, if his putter abandons him, he's going to struggle, but he's a guy that, just like Munoz, they can both rattle in 35, 40-foot putts, and they can get really hot with the putter. So Munoz struggling a little bit recently besides a top 3 finish, but overall I think this sort of week, him and Redman, makes some sense as some interesting plays. We see 2 years ago winner, Dylan Fratelli, only $7,800. He's going to get ownership because of that, but he's been really playing pretty tough golf. 8 of 21 in cuts made. He's missed like 5 out of the last 6 cuts, and the only cut he made was the U.S. Open, which is a good major, but finished 46th there. He just hasn't been playing good golf. I think I'd look to other guys, especially if he gets a little bit more ownership, as people see that he won this championship the last time it was played. Kramer Hickok, another guy that I like this week. If you think he can make a good push inside the top 20, I'd look to him. Maybe outright. I had a little bit of coin on him. But you also have Steve Stricker at $7,700. I will go with Stricker this week. He has dominated this tournament. Nobody's dominated the John Deere Classic like Steve Stricker, winning 3 times in a row from 2009 to 2011. And he hasn't played a ton of golf, so he should be a bit fresh, even though he is older. But with just how weak of a field it is, I wouldn't be shocked if he finishes inside the top 10. He loves his tournament, done awesome at this tournament. And I would even put a little bit on him to win outright. So Steve Stricker at only $7,700. I like to go to him as a value play. And then looking at some other cheaper guys that we can look to in the low 7K and the 6K range. Some guys I like in the 7K range are JT Poston. I like Patrick Rogers, the previous runner-up winner, or previous runner-up finish here a couple years ago. In the 6K range, we see like Roger Sloan, who probably could have won last week besides that 75 he shot. Other rounds, 65, 68, 68. That 75 in round 2 really held him back. If he had any sort of a decent round 2, he would have finished easily inside the top 5 because he still finished 12 under par with that 75 in the second round. So he's a guy that I like. He's been playing pretty good golf recently. Good chance to maybe finish inside the top 20. We see Cameron Champ. He's been awful recently, but he's only $6,800. He's a bomber. Maybe we could see him sneak out a win like we saw Cam Davis do last week. But his form has been pretty poor, but I might still look to him as a tournament GPP play. Cameron Champ. This is a sort of week with just having such a poor field to get back on track. Other guys in the 6K range here are, we saw a Burgoon finish inside the top 10 here a couple years ago. Maybe that was 2019. It's either 2019 or 2018 where he finished inside the top 10. So he could be interesting. Maybe Wes Roach also as another cheap guy that we can look to. But in 6K range, besides those guys here for the value plays, and it's below $6,500, not a ton, besides a couple of long shots like Austin Cook. So the last guy I'll plug in here is going back into the 7K range, and that is for a pretty nicely priced Pat Perez. He's $7,700. We saw him play pretty well last couple of weeks, tied 14th at the Rocket Mortgage, tied for 10th at the Palomito. It's another course that he has done well at. Finished 37th 2019. Just been playing decent golf here. Finished, with a pretty disappointing 70 on the round 4, but probably could have made his way inside the top 10 if he shot like a 68 or 67. But otherwise, I think he looks like a good option just because pretty poor field. $7,700. If he does make the weekend, he can make a push. So these are the 4 guys I like right now. So weak field, so we'll see. Maybe some crazy things will happen, but overall, it's kind of it for the DraftKings side. Let's just discuss the FanDuel plays quickly. So for the FanDuel plays, pretty similar to the DraftKings ones, exactly the same. I want to try to stick to the same core. On FanDuel, you're able to pay up for a little bit more studs. There's not a ton of studs on this slate, so basically between Berger, Im, maybe Brian Harman, Henley, Strillman. If you go with the 4 guys, Berger, Stricker, Libiota, Perez, still leaves you with $10,200. So maybe you can throw in like a Cam Davis, throw in a Siwoo Kim. Maybe go with like a Zach Johnson or a Kazire. Doc Redman's pretty expensive, so probably pass on that price tag. But it's kind of, you don't need to go super cheap on FanDuel. Like I think that going with the 8K range here, you could look to some guys here in the 7K range. I don't really have that much interest because I don't really need to go to anybody that cheap, at least on FanDuel. So it's kind of it for the video. Thank you guys for watching. Best of luck this week, and I'll see you all next time.